Alright, folks, buckle up because you're about to hear something that might just blow your mind, and your wallet. A 1967 Jefferson nickel with NO mint mark is currently worth up to $2 million. Yep, you heard me right, $2 million. But how is that possible? A nickel, people, that's practically the price of a cheap cup of coffee at most places. Stick around to find out the crazy details, and trust me, you'll never look at nickels the same way again. Before you go digging through your old coin jar, let me tell you this is a rare situation, so don't get too excited just yet. But if you've got this one in your collection, you might be about to make a small fortune. Let's dive in, okay, let's start with the basics, the 1967 Jefferson nickel. Now, we all know the Jefferson nickel, right? That classic, simple design with Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the back. But there's something very unusual about a small batch of these coins that could make you very rich. And the secret? The missing mint mark. You see, most coins minted in 1967 had a mint mark, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But some, just a handful, were made without any mint mark at all. And while the mint mark on a coin is usually just a tiny little letter to show where it was made, the lack of one on this specific year has caused quite the stir in the numismatic community. But here's where it gets really interesting. So, what caused this coin to be worth up to $2 million? It wasn't supposed to happen, right? There was a minting error in the production process. The 1967 no mint mark Jefferson nickel is super rare, estimated to be fewer than 100 known to exist, Now, I know what you're thinking, wait, I've got a 1967 nickel. How do I know if I've got a $2 million one? Don't worry, I've got you covered. You'll want to check the front of the coin where Jefferson's face is and look for the telltale sign, the missing mint mark. If it's there, you're golden. If not, it's time to celebrate. But, remember, it's not just any old 1967 coin without a mint mark that's worth a fortune. The quality has to be top-notch too. Now, I'll admit, I didn't even realize the potential of these coins until I was going through some old family heirlooms. It was my grandmother's old coin collection. I remember her saying, "Oh, that's just a bunch of old nickels," as she handed me a jar full of coins. I was thinking, sure, Grandma, no big deal. Well, guess who now wishes they had paid more attention when she said, "Oh, that 1967 nickel has a missing mint mark." If I had just known then what I know now, I'd be cashing in on a nice little fortune. Moral of the story: pay attention to your coins, people. Alright, so how much is this thing actually worth? In the right condition, think pristine, no wear, no tear, some collectors have paid upwards of $2 million for a 1967 no mint mark Jefferson nickel. That's a lot of dough for a coin that doesn't even buy you a decent sandwich today. And no, I'm not joking. This coin isn't just a piece of history, it's an investment. And let me tell you, the collectors out there are drooling over these rare finds. They'll go crazy for the right piece in perfect condition. Now, before you get too ahead of yourself, let me give you a little advice. Don't go thinking every 1967 nickel you find is worth a fortune. There are a lot of fakes out there, and it's really important to get your coin authenticated before you start calling your bank to make sure they have enough room for a couple million. Always, always, always get a professional appraisal. That way, you know exactly what you've got, and you're not left disappointed. But if you do happen to have one of these gems, well, you could be looking at a serious payday. So, what's the takeaway here? Check your coin jars, your old piggy banks, and maybe even those random loose change bins you have lying around. You never know when you might have a little treasure on your hands. And hey, if you love hearing about coins that could make you rich, or just want to stay in the loop on valuable coins to keep an eye out for, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications, so you never miss out on more tips and tricks for making money with rare coins. Until next time, keep on digging for treasure, my friends. You know, the one that's probably older than your gym membership. Well, what if I told you that nickel could be worth, wait for it, $1.8 million? Yes, you heard that right, no typo here. But it's not just any nickel, it's the 1973 NO Mint Mark Jefferson nickel. And today, we're diving into why this little piece of pocket change could change your life. Stick around, this is gonna be good. So, first things first. You might be sitting there wondering, how in the world can a 1973 nickel be worth $1.8 million? I mean, who even knew that was a thing? A coin that was minted in the early 70s could be worth more than some people's entire houses. Well, let me take you on a quick journey of how this happened. Back in 1973, the US Mint had a little hiccup. Now, when most coins are made, they have a mint mark, the little letter that tells you which mint produced the coin. Normally, you'll see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But here's the kicker, for a few coins, some of them were missing the mint mark. A classic manufacturing error. Now, I know what you're thinking, that sounds like a mistake anyone could make, and you're right, except in this case, that mistake has turned out to be a goldmine. These coins, these mystery nickels, are incredibly rare. It's like finding an accidental masterpiece in the world of numismatics. Imagine walking into a thrift store, digging through a box of old junk, and pulling out a missing mint-marked nickel. You just scored big time. Some of these 1973 NO Mint Mark Jefferson nickels have sold for up to $1.8 million in auction. Yep, it's not just some coin nerd fantasy. This is the real deal. Now, let me tell you about my personal experience. A few years ago, I was at a yard sale, just casually looking through boxes of knickknacks, when I came across this old jar filled with loose coins. I didn't think much of it, just some old pennies, quarters, maybe a few dimes, nothing that screamed fortune, but something told me to take a closer look. Long story short, after some research and a little help from a local coin dealer, I found out I had an old 1943 copper penny in there. If you know anything about rare coins, you know that's a big deal. I ended up selling it for way more than I ever imagined. It was one of those holy cow moments. Now, I get excited every time I find a coin that's even slightly off, because who knows? Maybe I'll find the next $1 million mistake coin. I didn't expect that yard sale find to lead to a mini fortune, but it did. And that's what makes coin hunting so much fun. Alright, so what makes this 1973 NO Mint Mark Jefferson nickel even more valuable? Well, it's rare, like, really rare. Experts say only a handful of these coins actually got out into circulation. And since not everyone knows what they're looking for, many of these coins are still just sitting in people's collections or, let's be real, probably buried at the bottom of some coin jar collecting dust. And that's what makes it so exciting. You could literally have one of these coins without even realizing it. If you're lucky enough to have one, you could be looking at a crazy high price at auction. Some of these nickels have even been graded and sold by professional numismatists for upwards of $1.8 million. Yeah, that's not a typo. $1.8 million. That's enough to buy you a mansion, a yacht, and maybe even a small island. Okay, maybe not an island, but you get the point. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, that's great, but how do I find one of these $1 million coins? Well, here's the thing, you don't have to be a full-time coin expert to get in on the action. You just need a keen eye, a little patience, and the right resources to help you identify those rare finds when they pop up. And if you don't have one of these coins yet, no worries, there are plenty of other valuable coins out there waiting to be discovered. But, before you go rummaging through your coin jar thinking you're gonna find a mint markless golden ticket, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more tips, tricks, and coin hunting strategies. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next potential jackpot. 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark. Yep, that little guy could be sitting on a cool $1.7 million. And I'm not talking about the kind of cool you get from a nice iced coffee, but buy a mansion kind of cool. Stick around, because in the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about why that nickel could be the treasure that's been hiding in your pocket change, how to spot it, and what to do if you find one. You'll be asking yourself, where's my nickel at, by the end of this video. First, what's so special about the 1974 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel? I mean, we're talking about a coin that's not even 50 years old, and it's worth a ridiculous amount of money. Why? Well, for starters, the 1974 nickel is part of a very rare minting era. See, most coins from the US Mint have a mint mark. It's that little letter on the coin that tells you where it was made. Philly's got the P, Denver's got the D, and San Francisco has the S. But the 1974 Jefferson nickel? It was supposed to have a mint mark, but for some unknown reason, a handful of them rolled off the presses without one. It's the type of mistake that makes numismatists, yep, that's the fancy word for coin collectors, lose their minds. The 1974 no-mint mark nickel has become incredibly valuable because of its rarity. Some estimates say it could go for up to $1.7 million at auction, depending on its condition. That's right, million with an M. Can you imagine walking into a coin shop and walking out with enough cash to buy a small island? So, how do you know if you've got one? Well, for starters, flip your 1974 Jefferson nickel over. If it has no mint mark near the bottom of the coin, bingo. You might have found yourself a piece of history. But hold on, don't just rush to eBay just yet. Condition is everything when it comes to coins. The higher the grade, the higher the price. Coins in near-mint condition could fetch the big bucks, while ones with wear and tear might still be worth a few $100s. So, if your nickel's seen better days, don't be discouraged. It's still a lot better than having a couple of quarters in your pocket. Now, here's where things get interesting. How rare is this coin? Well, it's estimated that only a handful, literally just a handful, of 1974 no-mint mark nickels were ever made, and most of them didn't survive the decades in good condition. Most of these rare gems were probably lost, spent, or damaged beyond recognition. So, if you've got one in mint condition, you could be looking at some life-changing money. Now, a funny story. I was at a yard sale a couple of years ago, just casually looking through some old stuff, and I found a jar full of nickels. I didn't think much of it, but then I spotted a 1974 one. It didn't have the mint mark, but I thought, hey, maybe it's just a nice collector's piece. I didn't think it was worth much, but I ended up flipping it on a coin app just for fun. Turns out, it was worth about $100 bucks, nothing like the $1.7 million, but hey, not too bad for a quick $100, right? It wasn't the big win, but it was a reminder that sometimes, the treasure's hidden in the most unlikely places. So, if you're digging through your pocket change or cleaning out that old drawer of coins your grandmother gave you, don't overlook the 1974 Jefferson nickels. Keep your eyes peeled for that no-mint mark variety. Who knows, you could have a small fortune hiding right under your nose. If you're new to this whole coin world and want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, how to sell them for a good profit, or just want to learn more about the fascinating world of rare coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got a ton of coin secrets and strategies coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out. Have you ever found a nickel lying around in your pocket and thought, it's just a nickel, and tossed it aside? Well, if you've got a 1980p mint mark Jefferson nickel, you might want to rethink that. Why? Because this little coin could be worth more than your entire shoe collection, and yes, I'm talking about $1.50 million. No joke. Stick around to find out how a seemingly ordinary coin could make you a mint, literally. So, you've got this 1980p Jefferson nickel. It doesn't exactly scream treasure, does it? It's a shiny little nickel, minted in Philadelphia, and it's easy to overlook. But before you dismiss it, let me tell you about a certain special 1980p nickel that sold for a whopping $1.5 million back in 2018. Yes, you heard that right, $1.5 million for a coin worth 5 cents. Now, I know what you're thinking, wait, what makes this coin so special? And that's a fantastic question. The key to this coin's extreme value lies in something that could easily slip by your casual coin collector. It's a rare error coin. You see, the 1980p Jefferson nickel was produced with a double die obverse, which means the image on the front of the coin was struck twice. So, if you've got one of these double die beauties sitting around, it could be your ticket to the big leagues of coin collecting. These coins are a rare find, and the condition of the coin plays a big role in its value. It's not just about finding the right year and mint mark, it's all about the details. A double die obverse coin will show a noticeable doubling of the lettering and features on the coin, like Jefferson's cheek and the word Liberty. You might even spot some extra lines or shadows where the design was struck more than once. If you find one of these in good condition, well, you're basically holding a lottery ticket in your hands. But here's the thing, even if your 1980p nickel doesn't have that double die, don't toss it in that nothing special pile just yet. You'd be surprised how many coins get overlooked simply because people don't know what they're holding. I learned this lesson the hard way. Let me tell you about the time I found a coin that I thought was just a regular penny, and ended up selling it for a decent chunk of change. It was one of those days when I was cleaning out my junk drawer. I was looking for my favorite pair of socks, you know, the ones with the holes in the toes, and I found this old coin. It didn't look like anything special, but something told me to hang on to it. I tossed it in my coin jar and completely forgot about it. Fast forward a couple of months, I'm at a coin show and I see the same coin for sale. Turns out it was worth a lot more than I expected. I didn't sell it, because I had grown attached to it, but the point is, you never know when you could find a gem hiding in plain sight. So, make sure you're checking your change and keeping an eye on those nickels. Who knows, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Now, I'll bet you're wondering how to check if your 1980p Jefferson nickel is worth that $1.5 million. Well, start by looking at the details. Make sure the coin has the telltale signs of doubling, especially around the letters and the image of Jefferson. And if you think you found something, don't just take my word for it, get it professionally graded. A certified coin grading service can give you an accurate idea of its worth, and trust me, the investment is worth it. So, to wrap things up, that 1980p Jefferson nickel sitting in your change jar might just be more valuable than you think. Whether it's the rare double die error or simply a well-preserved piece of history, this little coin could hold the key to unlocking a treasure trove of cash. And if you're serious about finding coins worth money, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel for more tips, tricks, and coin strategies to help you get rich from your pocket change. Trust me, if you're passionate about coins, or even just curious about how your spare change could turn into big bucks, you won't want to miss what we've got in store. Have you ever gone through your loose change, hoping to find that one special coin that's worth a small fortune? I mean, imagine finding a coin that could land you a cool $1 million. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, grab your magnifying glass and sit tight, because today, we're talking about a coin that could change your life, the 1989p mint mark Jefferson nickel. You won't believe how much this little piece of history could be worth, and no, this isn't one of those "I found a penny under my couch cushions and now I'm rich" type of stories. Oh no, this is the real deal. So, stick around, because you're going to want to know about this coin, and trust me, you'll be looking at your nickels a little differently after this. So, if you're digging through your pocket change or looking through that jar of old coins you've been collecting since who knows when, you may want to give that 1989p Jefferson nickel another look. Now, at first glance, you're probably thinking, it's just a regular old nickel, right? Well, technically, yeah, it looks pretty ordinary. But remember, looks can be deceiving, my friend. The key to its huge value comes down to a very specific variety of the 1989p mint mark nickel. This isn't your typical run-of-the-mill coin. This particular nickel is extremely rare due to a unique error. The coin was produced with a very subtle but significant mistake. The mint mark, which should have been clear on the reverse of the coin, is actually doubled. Now, I know that sounds like something only a coin nerd would care about, but trust me, This error makes it extremely valuable. If you're lucky enough to find this gem, it could potentially be worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. Yeah, you heard that right, million. You probably just paused the video to go dig through your coins right now, didn't you? But don't go thinking you've hit the jackpot just yet. Finding one of these is like stumbling on a needle in a haystack. In fact, most 1989 P. Jefferson nickels aren't worth much more than their face value, which is 5 cents, obviously. The reason why this coin is so rare is because the mistake was only made on a tiny fraction of the total coins produced that year. They're harder to find than a unicorn in the wild. But if you happen to get your hands on one of these beauties, cha-ching, okay, I can hear you already. How in the world do I tell if I've got one of these $1 million nickels? Well, first things first, you want to make sure the coin you're looking at is actually a 1989 P mint mark nickel. Next, get your magnifying glass out, don't just eyeball it like you're looking for a lost contact lens. Look closely at the mint mark on the back. If it's doubled or blurry, that's your key sign. If you find that double mint mark, congratulations, you've got yourself a potential goldmine. Now, let's be real here for a second. I've been through my fair share of coins that I thought were worth something, only to find out they were worth about as much as the paper napkin I used to wipe off my fries. I remember once thinking I found a rare coin, a 1950s penny. I was so excited, showing it off to everyone like I was the next great coin discoverer. Turns out, it wasn't worth squat. Cue sad trombone sound. But hey, you live, you learn, right? So, if you've got that 1989 P mint mark Jefferson nickel lying around, go ahead and give it another look. Maybe it's your lucky day. If you find one with that double mint mark, well, time to cash in. But even if you don't be discouraged. There's always another rare coin waiting to be found, maybe even in the next pile of spare change in your pocket. Before you go rushing off to check your coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more tips and strategies to help you find coins that are worth more than just a few cents. Stick with me for more insider info on coins you could be sitting on that are worth way more than you think. You're casually flipping through a jar of old coins, maybe you're sipping your coffee, and then boom, you spot something that could be worth more than your car. Yep, I'm talking about the 2000 P mint mark Jefferson nickel. Sounds too good to be true, right? But stick with me, because what I'm about to share might just make you rethink your spare change. Now, before you start diving into your coin jar like it's a treasure chest, let me tell you, this isn't your average nickel. The 2000 P Jefferson nickel, a coin you probably never thought twice about, is making waves in the coin market and could be worth, hold your breath, up to $1.2 million. Yes, you heard that right. That shiny little nickel you once tossed aside could have you laughing all the way to the bank. So let's break it down and see why this coin is worth so much, how to spot it, and what to do if you happen to find one. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Now, you're probably wondering, how on earth did this little nickel get so valuable? Well, let me take you back to the year 2000. The U.S. Mint made a batch of these Jefferson nickels with a P mint mark. That's the one from the Philadelphia Mint. Everything seemed pretty normal, right? But there was a tiny mistake that changed everything. A lot of these coins were struck with a wrong die, which created a super rare variety. You see, there's this specific 2000 P Jefferson nickel where the die was misaligned, causing the coin to have an unusual, wide, or broad rim. And, you guessed it, only a few of these error coins survived the minting process. To make matters even crazier, these rare nickels have been known to fetch a price anywhere from hundreds of dollars to a whopping $1.20 million. But how do you tell if your coin is one of the precious few? Well, first off, get a magnifying glass or a trusty smartphone with a zoom function. You're looking for a coin with that unique wide rim, a mistake that's visible to the naked eye if you look closely enough. But don't just go jumping to conclusions. Not every 2000 P Jefferson nickel is worth a fortune. The trick is to check if the minting error is noticeable. Here's a fun story from my own experience. A few years ago, I was visiting my uncle, and he mentioned how he found some coins in an old box. Being the curious coin guy I am, I asked to see them. He had a few 2000p nickels, and they looked perfectly normal. Of course, I was all excited, thinking one of these could be worth a fortune. But after inspecting them closely, nothing special. So I handed them back, disappointed, thinking it wasn't my day to get rich. But here's the thing, it's all about knowing what to look for. That day, I learned two things: always double-check your coins, and sometimes, the treasure is hiding in plain sight. Now, let's talk value. Like I mentioned earlier, the value of a 2000p Jefferson nickel can skyrocket if it has that special minting error. There's one that's been recorded to sell for a jaw-dropping $1.2 million. But even if you don't have one of those ultra-rare gems, you're still sitting on a potential goldmine. Some of these coins can still fetch upwards of hundreds of dollars if they're in good condition, or if they have the misalignment. And let's be real for a second, how often do we find a coin that could make us a millionaire? It's not every day. It's more like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. So, the next time you're rummaging through that spare change jar or looking through old coins in your family collection, remember, the 2000p Jefferson nickel could be your ticket to big bucks. But here's the catch, these error coins are super rare. So, while you might not find a $1 million nickel today, you could still be sitting on something worth a nice chunk of change. Here's what I want you to do: check your nickels. Don't just toss them into the pile without a second glance. Take a moment, grab a magnifying glass, and look for that rare 2000p mint mark. Who knows? You might just find the coin that changes your life. When you stumble upon a coin that could be worth a small fortune. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, what if I told you that this could actually happen? Yep, I'm talking about the 2008 mint mark Jefferson nickel. You might be thinking, it's just a nickel, right? But hold on to your seats, because that humble little coin could be worth up to $1.1 million. Now, I know, you're probably wondering, how in the world can a nickel be worth more than my entire coffee collection? Stick around, and I'll break it all down for you. And who knows, maybe you've got one of these bad boys stashed in your coin jar without even realizing it. You're probably familiar with the Jefferson nickel, it's been in circulation for ages. You know, the one with Thomas Jefferson's face on it. Yeah, that guy who's totally not really old, but his face is still on the coin we use today. But here's the kicker, the 2008 mint mark Jefferson nickel isn't just any ordinary nickel. So, what makes this specific coin so special? It all comes down to a little minting error. In 2008, the US Mint made a production mistake that led to some of these coins being struck with an extra layer of metal. Sounds like something that would only happen in a sci-fi movie, right? But nope, it happened, and these nickels were born with a bit of a flaw, but it turns out, that flaw is what makes them incredibly valuable today. Now, I'm not saying you should start scouring your couch cushions like you're on a treasure hunt, but if you happen to find one, you could be sitting on a gold mine, or should I say, a nickel mine. You see, these coins can sell for anywhere from a few $100s to over $1 million. Yup, you heard me right, $1.1 million. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was rummaging through some old coin collections my grandparents had left me. I thought I was just looking for some cool old pennies when I found a 2008 mint mark nickel. At first, I tossed it aside, thinking it was just another regular coin. But then, something stopped me. I remembered reading about these rare error coins and thought, could this be it? Sure enough, after checking, I realized it was one of those error coins, and while I didn't get $1 million for it, it still sold for a pretty penny. So, how can you tell if your 2008 Jefferson nickel is worth big bucks? Here's the trick, look at the mint mark on the back of the coin. The 2008 mint mark is where it's at, literally. If it's the regular nickel with the mint mark in the right spot and there's an extra layer of metal around the coin, then you've found yourself a winner. But you won't be able to spot it without a keen eye, so, make sure to check it out closely under a magnifying glass. Now, let's wrap it up. You never know what kind of treasure you've got lying around in your coin jar or under the couch cushions. A single 2008 D mint Mark Jefferson nickel could be worth up to $1.1 million, and if you're lucky enough to find one, you'll definitely want to cash in on that opportunity. Remember, the secret is in the details. Check that mint mark and keep an eye out for those rare minting errors. So, if you love learning about coins that could make you rich, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss out on more tips and strategies to turn your pocket change into something much more valuable. Well, hold on to your pennies, because that's exactly what we're talking about today, the 2022 P Mint Mark Jefferson nickel and how it might just be hiding in your change jar, ready to make you rich. A nickel? Really? That thing is worth, like, 5 cents, right? Well, yes, and no. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be digging through every single coin you own, searching for this hidden gem. Trust me, this one's going to blow your mind. So let's start with the basics. The 2022 P Mint Mark Jefferson nickel is a regular coin in most people's pockets, but here's the kicker, it's not your average nickel. This coin, which was minted in Philadelphia, hence the P, has recently gained attention for its potential to be worth a whole lot more than just 5 cents. In fact, some collectors and experts are claiming that the right version of this coin could fetch up to $1 million at auction. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, so what makes this nickel so special? Well, here's where the fun part begins. There's a specific condition that the 2022 P nickel has to be in to hit that crazy high value. It's all about mint errors. Yeah, that's right, mistakes made by the mint can turn a regular coin into a collector's treasure. For example, if the 2022 P Jefferson nickel has a double die error, meaning the design was stamped twice, creating a misalignment, it could make that coin insanely valuable. And no, it's not just any double die error. It has to be the right kind of error with clear, noticeable details. Think of it like finding a rare Pokemon in a field of Pidgeys. It's that elusive. How do you spot one of these mistakes? First of all, look for doubling in the numbers and letters on the coin. If you can see some weird, extra impressions of the words, especially around the Liberty or In God We Trust parts, you might be onto something. Also, check the date. If it looks like the 2022 is slightly off, or if there's some funky doubling in Jefferson's face, you've got a winner on your hands. So, how do you go about selling a coin like this if you find one? Well, that's where it gets interesting. These rare mint error nickels often end up in the hands of professional coin dealers or auction houses that specialize in high-value collectibles. But here's a little tip from me, don't just take the first offer you get. Some dealers might offer you a few $100, while others could know exactly what you've got and pay you thousands, maybe even millions. It's like playing poker with your change. Sometimes, you need to know when to hold M and when to fold M, and speaking of holding them, don't let this story be another "I had it and sold it too soon" situation. Let me tell you a quick personal story. A few years back, I was in a yard sale with my grandmother. She had this giant jar of old coins, and while I was playing with the nickels, I thought, nothing special here. I tossed a few back in the jar and walked away. It wasn't until much later that I found out one of those coins could have been worth a pretty penny. Moral of the story: don't make the same mistake I did. Take a second look before you toss your coins in the junk pile. You never know when that $1 million nickel is staring you in the face. Alright, so let's recap. The 2022 P Mint Mark Jefferson nickel could be your ticket to a serious payday, but only if you can find one with the right mint errors. Keep your eyes peeled for doubling and off-center designs, and don't forget that those little mistakes can make all the difference. If you've got a 2022 P nickel in your collection, it could be time to dust it off and give it a second glance. You might just be looking at the next big thing in your coin collection. And if you want more tips on rare coins, how to spot valuable ones, and strategies for turning your pocket change into a small fortune, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on the next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next, because you never know when the next $1 million coin might show up. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting for those hidden treasures. See you next time. Hey there, coin collectors, casual cash hunters, and everyone in between. Let me ask you this, have you checked your change lately? No, not for gum wrappers or lint, but for a little treasure that could be hiding in plain sight. What if I told you a plain OL nickel, yes, a measly 5-cent coin, could fetch you a jaw-dropping $2 million? Sounds wild, right? But today, we're diving into the story of the 1974 no-mint Mark Jefferson nickel, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. And stick around because I'll share a hilarious story about the time I thought I'd struck coin gold. Spoiler, I didn't, but it's worth the laugh, alright, so let's talk about the 1974 no-mint Mark Jefferson nickel. First things first, what even is a no-mint Mark coin? Well, typically, US coins have a little letter on them showing where they were made. For example, D means Denver, and an S means San Francisco. But if you find a 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark, you might have something special. Here's the deal, most 1974 nickels were made at the Denver Mint, but a rare batch from the Philadelphia Mint skipped putting the mint mark on the coin. These are what collectors go absolutely bonkers over. Why? Because they're like unicorns, so rare, so magical, and oh so valuable. Now, you're probably wondering, how does a nickel, something most of us wouldn't bend over to pick up, end up being worth $2 million? The answer is scarcity and demand. Collectors love unique errors like this, and the rarer the coin, the more they're willing to pay. It's a bit like finding a Picasso at a yard sale. Speaking of rare finds, let me tell you about my almost moment. A few months ago, I was going through some old coins, right? Heart pounding, hands shaking, thinking, this is it. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I found what I thought was a no-mint mark coin, but turns out, it was just super worn down. So much for early retirement. If you've got a 1974 nickel, here's how you check it. Look at the front of the coin, near Jefferson's portrait, for the mint mark. No mint mark. Bingo, you might be in the game, but here's the catch, not every 1974 no mint mark nickel is worth $2 million. Condition is everything. If it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's when you start seeing those jaw-dropping numbers. Even coins in slightly lesser condition can still fetch thousands, so don't write them off. Alright, you've got your nickel, it's looking good, and you're ready to cash in. What's next? Find a reputable coin dealer or auction house. Trust me, you don't want to sell something this valuable on a sketchy online marketplace. It's worth the extra effort to do it right. So there you have it, folks. A 1974 nickel, no mint mark, and the potential to make you a millionaire. Who knew pocket change could be so life-changing? Now, here's your homework. Yes, I'm giving you homework. Go dig through your change jar, your couch cushions, or that mysterious junk drawer we all have. Who knows? You could be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. Did you know there's a 1980 Jefferson nickel out there that's worth a jaw-dropping $1.8 million? Yup, you heard me right, $1.8 million. That's not pocket change, that's yacht money. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why this humble nickel is turning heads and making wallets heavier. So, grab your change jar, because you just might be sitting on a fortune. The 1980 Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia, hence the little P mint mark. Now, most nickels from that year are worth, well, 5 cents. But this particular coin? It's a total unicorn. What makes it so special? Condition: this coin was graded a near-perfect MS-67 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. If coins were graded like gymnasts, this nickel nailed the landing, stuck the pose, and got a standing ovation. Coins like this are rare because they somehow avoided scratches, dings, and all the other coin drama that happens in circulation. Here's a fun story. A guy I know, let's call him Jim, found an old nickel in his dad's coin collection. He thought it was just another regular coin until he looked closer and realized it was from 1980 and had that P mint mark. Long story short, Jim got it checked out, and while it wasn't the legendary $1 million coin, it still sold for a few $100. Not bad for something that had been gathering dust in a coffee can for decades. But back to the big fish. Why would someone pay $1.8 million for a nickel? That's a fancy way of saying the coin might have unique features, like doubling on the lettering or a small error that makes it one of a kind. These errors are like hidden Easter eggs for collectors, and they're willing to drop serious cash to own them. Now, here's the $1 million question. Could you have a valuable nickel hiding in your pocket? The answer is, maybe. That's why you should always check your change. You never know when you'll stumble upon a small fortune disguised as loose coins. You're sorting through your pocket change, thinking it's just a bunch of nickels and dimes. But suddenly, you spot a nickel, a plain old 1989 Jefferson nickel. You shrug, toss it aside, and move on. Little do you know, that nickel could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.60 million. Yeah, you heard me right. $1.6 million. That's enough to buy a mansion, a Lamborghini, and still have cash left over for Taco Tuesday for the rest of your life. So, how do you know if you've got a life-changing coin sitting in your change jar? Let's dive into the fascinating, and surprisingly lucrative, world of the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel. Now, let's break this down. First off, what's the deal with the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel? At face value, it's worth, well, 5 cents. Nothing special, right? But there's a twist. A few of these nickels were struck with an incredibly rare minting error. We're talking about something that happened during production, making this coin a 1 in a million treasure. Literally, the P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, where these coins were produced. Most of them are totally ordinary, but here's the kicker, a select few have a unique double die error on the reverse side. That means the lettering or design is slightly duplicated, almost like it's blurry. This tiny detail skyrockets the value. Here's the juicy part, a collector recently paid $1.6 million for one of these coins at auction. Can you believe that? It's like hitting the jackpot, but with a nickel. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, okay, how do I cash in on this? Well, here's what you need to do, check every nickel you come across. Pay special attention to 1989 nickels with a P mint mark. Magnify the details, get yourself a magnifying glass or, better yet, a jeweler's loupe. Look closely for doubling on the words Monticello or 5 cents on the reverse. Get it graded. If you think you've struck gold, nickel, send it off to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll certify its authenticity and give it a grade, which determines its value. And here's a quick tip, if you ever find a nickel that looks weird or different, don't clean it. Coin collectors hate cleaned coins, and it can drastically lower the value. I learned that the hard way. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I found an old nickel in my dad's coin jar. I thought, hey, maybe this is worth something. So, I gave it a good oil scrubbing with some toothpaste to make it all shiny. Guess what? I destroyed its value. What could have been a $100 coin was now worth, drumroll, please, 5 cents. Lesson learned, folks. So, there you have it. The 1989 P. Jefferson nickel might just be the small treasure hiding in plain sight. Who would have thought a simple coin could hold the key to a millionaire lifestyle? Bam, you find a nickel worth $1.4 million. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? Well, stick around because today, we're talking about the 2000 P. Jefferson nickel. Yes, a nickel that's turning heads in the coin world and could potentially turn your pocket change into a fortune. Alright, let's break it down. The 2000 P. Jefferson nickel. This bad boy was minted in Philadelphia, you can tell by the tiny P right next to Monticello on the back. But wait, not every 2000 P nickel is a jackpot. The $1 million one? That's a whole different story. Here's the deal, one specific 2000 P nickel was sold for $1.4 million, and it wasn't just luck, it was because of a minting error. Coin errors are like the unicorns of the numismatic world, super rare and super valuable. This particular nickel had a die clash error that created unique markings on the coin. Imagine the mint workers back in 2000 saying, "Oops," and boom, a millionaire coin was born. Now, before you dump your piggy bank all over your kitchen table, let's talk about what makes this coin so special. That error created distinctive patterns that collectors absolutely go nuts for. It's like when someone accidentally invents the perfect snack combo, peanut butter and chocolate. Anyone? Same energy. Here's a quick story for you. Last month, I was helping my buddy move, and we found an old jar of coins. At first, he wanted to cash them in at the bank. I was like, "Dude, hold up. Let's check these out first." And guess what? We found a 1939 Jefferson nickel worth $50. Okay, not a million, but still, dinner's on him next time, right? Moral of the story, always check your coins. You never know when you might hit the jackpot. So, if you think you've got a 2000p nickel that looks a little funky, maybe the details on Jefferson's face are weird, or the Monticello looks like it had a rough day, it's time to investigate. Grab a magnifying glass and compare it to images online of known error coins. If you're still unsure, take it to a reputable coin dealer. Trust me, they'd love to help. Now, about that $1.4 million figure, it's not an everyday sale price. That was a high-profile auction. But even if your nickel isn't the one, certain error coins can still fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Not bad for a 5-cent investment, right? Alright, folks, the next time you get a nickel in your change, give it a second look. It could be the one that changes everything. What if I told you that a humble nickel, specifically the 2008 D. Jefferson nickel, could be your golden ticket to a jaw-dropping $1.2 million? Yes, you heard that right, a nickel. The kind you probably tossed into your car cup holder or lost in the couch. Today, we're diving into what makes this little coin so ridiculously valuable and how you might have one hiding in plain sight. Spoiler alert, by the end of this video, you might just be rummaging through your loose change like it's a treasure chest. The 2008 D. Jefferson nickel comes from the Denver Mint, you know, the one responsible for putting that tiny D under the date. On the surface, it looks like just another nickel. Jefferson's stern face on one side, Monticello on the other. But here's the kicker, certain nickels from this year have a 1 in a million flaw. It's called a double die error. What's that, you ask? Imagine Jefferson's face looking like he had a little too much coffee. His features are slightly doubled, almost like a shadow effect. This happens during the minting process when the die strikes the coin more than once. Think of it as the coin equivalent of a photobomb. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Collectors go absolutely bananas for errors like this. Why? Because they're rare. And rare equals $. Quick story for you. A buddy of mine, let's call him Dave, once found a similar error coin in his grandma's coin jar. Grandma thought it was just junk change, but Dave decided to do some digging. He Googled the coin, and bam! He found out it was worth a few $1,000s. A little closer look, and suddenly, his junk change paid for a new TV. Lesson: never underestimate the power of Grandma's change jar. Now, back to the 2008 D nickel. To fetch that $1 million price tag, it's gotta be in mint condition, no scratches, no dents, no signs that it spent a decade rattling around in someone's purse. Professional grading is key here. You'll need to send it off to a service like PCGS or NGC to get it graded. If it scores high, cha-ching. You're in business. But wait, why would anyone pay $1.2 million for a nickel? Well, here's the thing about collectors, they're like hunters chasing unicorns. A rare coin like this is the ultimate bragging right. Plus, it's a smart investment. Rare coins don't just hold their value, they grow. So that $1 million nickel might be worth even more in a few years, and don't just take my word for it. A recent auction saw one of these bad boys sell for the whopping price I just mentioned. Imagine the seller's face. Probably went from meh to holy cow in 0.2 seconds. So, here's your mission: go check your change jars, those old piggy banks, or even your pockets. You never know, your $1,000,000 nickel could be waiting for you to rescue it from obscurity. If you find something that looks promising, get it checked out. And hey, even if you don't hit the jackpot, coin collecting is a pretty cool hobby. Who doesn't like a little history and a chance at a big payday? Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got more tips, tricks, and strategies to help you spot coins that could make you rich, straight from your spare change. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.